I'm James Laxton, and you're listening to the Cinematography Podcast. We'd sort of visited that location quite a few times before shooting that scene, but the happy accident that happened on that day just felt like, we lit candles and prayed for it, because there's this very dark, ominous cloud off the coast of Southern California. So that was just present there in a way that you couldn't have asked for a more correct sort of weather pattern to come in.
This is Cinepod, the cinematography podcast, a program about the art, craft, and philosophy of the moving image presented by Hot Rod Cameras. I'm your host, Alana Cody. Today on our show, we speak with James Laxton, the Academy Award-nominated cinematographer of Moonlight. James is the director of photography on Season 2 of Beef, the acclaimed Netflix series created by Lee Sung Jin. This season explores themes of love, class, and generational cycles. We dive into how James and Sunny Lee built a color palette of spring, summer, autumn, and winter that stays continuous through lighting, costume, and production design to give each couple their own visual world. Why shooting on the large format ARRI 265 was a thematic decision, presenting characters as larger-than-life symbols of forces far bigger than themselves. How light and framing portray the power dynamics, from a harsh, undiffused backlit golf course confrontation to wide, symmetrical frames of opulence that trap characters inside the class structure surrounding them. How James and Lee established a shared visual language honoring the DNA of Season 1 while pushing the show somewhere entirely new. After the interview, stick around for our short ends, our pet obsessions of the week. But first, find out what's going on in the world of entertainment in our segment called Close Focus.
We couldn't be more excited. We have Alana Cody with us, producer Alana Cody. Because she's doing the interview today. So, Alana, what is our close focus today?
Our close focus is about The Mandalorian and Grogu, which, of the three of us, you're the only one who saw.
Yeah, I'm the only one with an 8-year-old child. Let me tell you.
Is the movie appropriate for adults, or is it really for 8-year-old children?
Okay, it's PG-13, which I didn't realize until afterwards, and it's definitely like that because they say motherfucker every third word. No, it's PG-13. It's PG-13 because there's like really scary monsters and extreme violence. Here's the thing, a lot of people are like, is it the best Star Wars movie? Blah, blah, blah. Where does it rank in the Star Wars world? And I'm like, it's the wrong question. It's a really good Star Wars movie. It's fun. If you liked the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, which I did, the third season got a little hokey in my opinion, but the first 2 I thought were great. It's awesome. It's fun. I went in, I think, with the appropriate expectation, which is, it's basically 4 episodes of The Mandalorian crammed together. But it's like 4 really good ones with top tier special effects. Jon Favreau directing. Jon Favreau's a great director, and looks great. The visual effects are great. We're finally given kind of a hunky hut. We've always had a big fat hut, and now we finally have a hut that's kind of hunky.
I heard lots of jokes about that.
Oh, really?
I did.
I want to know
the hunky hut. All right.
Yeah,
spoilers.
The what is it? Java? No, what's the huts?
Oh, I don't even remember, and I only saw this 3 days ago.
Oh, okay. Well, he's like the son of Jabba the Hutt or something.
He is. He's Jabba the Hutt's son.
Apparently has a 6-pack.
He does. I mean, I think it's more like a 16-pack because he's kind of a giant worm. But yeah, no. But the thing is, like, here's why I suggested we talk about it. First of all, I kept hearing about the tracking. Everybody has been wanting to hate on this movie. I've been seeing chatter on the YouTube movie channels, and people have been like trying to predict the downfall of Lucasfilm. And I think that it's like there's like some weird negativity around it, and like. I'll be the first to admit that I feel like the Star Wars TV series on Disney Plus have been a mixed bag. Some have been better than others. You know, like there's Andor on one side, and I'm not going to talk smack about any of them, but you know, there's several that that underwhelmed me, or that I watched an episode or two of. But The Mandalorian was like the first one that like kind of caught the vibe of like what I loved about Star Wars. It's a freaking space Western, and it's, is it for kids? Not, I mean, like I liked it. It was fun. If I didn't have an 8-year-old son, I would have gone to see it. It was cool. It's, you know, like everything, could be a little shorter. Wouldn't complain if it was a little shorter, but it's not the end of the world. It was well done. But to me, like the prognosticators, like the tracking that I had heard going into the weekend was that it was going to, in the 4-day weekend, it was going to make 80 million, which meant that it was going to be under Solo, which was considered a humongous bomb 10 years ago. And
which I liked. I enjoyed Solo.
Solo came out fine, but yeah. Solo also was like, I think $100 million ish more expensive, because they basically made it twice than this was. This was about $155 million, which is a lot of money. But wouldn't you know, according to, I'm looking at Variety, worldwide it already pulled in 163 million, which does not put it in the black. I mean, like, I don't actually care if it's a hit as a viewer. Yeah. Nobody cares if a movie is a hit, but we're all in kind of this ball game, you know, this horse race, this arms race of like what can make the most money, and also this ongoing question of, is theatrical back? And I feel like this is a movie that had like weird buzz around it, and I don't know why. And you know, time will tell. And you know, like it could, the box office could fall off a cliff next week, and it could, you know, it could end up underwater. But honestly, it looks like it's off to a good start. And you know, it exceeded the American tracking, which was about 80 million, by 20 million. That's a lot. That's a lot of money to exceed the tracking by. And, you know, the tracking, anyone will tell you, you know, it's a lot of people's best guesses, but still.
I mean, I enjoyed the series. I watched that. It was really one of the only, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, and it's one of the only Star Wars series that I really watched. So, you know, I'd watch it.
The TV show did a lot of really good stuff. They really, you know, it wasn't a hardcore Star Wars movie. It wasn't a prequel. It kind of occupied its own space, and in that regard, I think it was really successful. Would you say that the movie just continues that? It lives in its own space. It's not trying to be anything else.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there are tangential connections to the Skywalker saga, but there's not a whole lot of, outside of Grogu, Baby Yoda, not a whole lot of space wizards in this story. And, you know, we had Greg Fraser on when he shot The Mandalorian, and I feel like, you know, the ongoing legacy to me of The Mandalorian was Greg and everyone else's contribution of creating this volume shooting with Unreal Engine and the LED panels, which now is such a common practice that, you know, we'll talk to people about it, and, you know, there are upsides and downsides. And now I feel like, you know, I can't speak for everyone, but I feel like I can tell when it's being done well and when it's being done badly. By the way, Greg Fraser has only done it perfectly every time I've ever seen him do it. But, you know, like, and to me, that was probably the biggest legacy of The Mandalorian, was just this technological leap that enabled a certain kind of production if you were interested in doing it. And then, you know, like everything else in not just our industry, but every industry, new thing came along and then got beaten to death. And after a while, you could sort of see the volume shooting done badly left and right, even by really amazing, brilliant people, not, you know, on TV shows, on movies, all over the place. But, you know, I haven't really read up on how they shot this. I'm sure that there was some of that, but also this movie has just, you know, it's really chock-a-block with amazing production value. And also, like, I love that they steer into the Grogu still looking very much like a puppet, and Grogu is not the only puppet in this. So if you like to see some puppetry, there's also a sequence in it, and I want to find out if I'm right about this, where I think they used stop motion animation. If they didn't use stop motion animation, they definitely tried to make these robots look stop motion animated. And Phil Tippett, who was like the original, pioneer of the stop motion and the go motion animation that was used in the original trilogy, the OG trilogy from the 70s and 80s. He's the VFX supervisor on this. So I wouldn't be surprised if Phil Tippett got some stop motion in there, and it all looks great. It's fun. But to me, the kind of the meta story around it is just like the prognostication of its failure before it even came out. And I've just been noticing kind of this weird hipster trend of people just wanting to hate something, especially in IP that they're very accustomed to.
Isn't that pretty standard though for Star Wars fan?
Yeah.
People?
I mean, I'll blame George Lucas because I feel like, the prequels that came out in the the late 90s, early 2000s kind of broke my fandom. Like Star Wars was practically a religion to me as a kid. And then the prequels came out and I was like, I don't like these. And it kind of made me question everything. But then like when people would get like extremely angry about the sequel trilogy, it's like, I don't know, like I just didn't have that fire in the belly to care one way or the other about it anymore. It's like I could just take them for what each one of them were, which is it a good movie? Is it a bad movie? And Rogue One often is cited and rightfully so as like one of the best non-Skywalker stories in the whole canon. And I would put this up there with that. I think this is really good, and it's fun. And I think when people are like, is it the best? Is it the worst? It's like, it's the wrong question. It's like, is it fun?
Yeah. I think that's what all that most people want.
Yeah.
Your average person who goes to the movies, like, are you entertained?
Yeah. Do you want to see Pedro Pascal in a Mandalorian suit fight giant weird ass monsters to save Baby Yoda? You're in luck, because it's like wall to wall that, and it's cool. I don't know. It's cool, and I'll be interested to see if it does better next week, or does the same, or tapers off. But I feel like it's going to have some kind of legs, because it's exactly, when you think of like what makes a good summer movie, it's exactly that. And I was happy to hear some critics kind of give it that, although it didn't have the highest critic score going in either. But
I did hear some reviews, and they were pretty favorable. So but it's interesting because I don't know when people started caring about the box office of things. I don't know if people really do, but it seems like that seems to sometimes weigh for some reason on, like, how would that weigh on anyone caring about whether or not they go see a movie? To me, it should just be
I think that if you're inclined to dislike it because you want to hate a thing, it gives you backup to go see, like, to go say, to say like, see, I'm right. No one wanted this. And, this is what I'm seeing from my vantage point, and I am welcome to be wrong, although I'll be sad if I'm wrong. But it's like, I think people want to go back to the theater. I think that the problem last year and why box office was down was that the movies that were coming out weren't what people wanted. And there were also fewer movies coming out last year. And when you see the success of things like Project Hail Mary, shot by Greg Fraser, and this, and even Michael, a movie that I have next door to no interest in, like, these movies are massive hits. Why? People want to go to the theater. They want to have a night out. They want to go do something outside of their house and have an experience. And the theaters have been working really hard to make, to give us comfy seats and exciting food and whatever. So, I feel like there's, it to me, like, I see that, and it encourages me that more people are going back to the theater, and that we're going to be seeing, hopefully, a year, 2 years from now, we're going to be seeing more stuff in theaters and more people going. And one day maybe we return to pre-pandemic levels of theater going, but this seems almost like a pre-pandemic level of theater going on this particular film. I guess we'll see, but
yeah, it's I think if anything, this just shows there's going to be more Star Wars movies in our future.
As long as they're good, I'm down.
Great. We'll see if there's more Star Wars movies in our future. So let's get to the interview with James Laxton.
Here we go.
With me today, I have Academy Award nominated cinematographer James Laxton. And you know, you've been on the show before, actually. I don't know if you remember. It was a while. It was in 2020, and
It
it
was a while
was
ago, but I
yeah,
do. Yes,
and it was for If Beale Street Could Talk. Yeah. So
that's right. Yeah,
yeah, I think it
film I'm
was.
very
I
fond
think
of.
you. Yeah, I think you spoke with Ilya for that on
I
the
think I
show.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah, it was a good conversation.
yeah.
I'm sure this will be too, but you know, I remember that chat fondly.
Oh, good. I'm glad you remember. Sometimes people, you know, it was a while ago. So yeah, so now you're here to talk to us about Beef season 2.
That's right.
So to start with, like, what led you to the project to work on the season of Beef?
Yeah, I think it's probably an answer a lot of the collaborators on this season had, in that it was, you know, started with an enjoyment and a love for season one. You know, I thought that season was just really well done, and you know, I can go on and on about it, but basically, you know, it was a beautiful show, I thought, and really touched on a lot of things that I really enjoyed about it as an audience member. But I think in addition to that, felt like when I watched it, uh, there was some sort of storytelling techniques, visually speaking, that I felt a kinship with, and when I heard there was a season two coming along, I felt like, gosh, this could be something that worth engaging with, and just did the classic sort of like agent reaching out kind of thing, and I think they were sort of putting feelers out about who possibly might be interested in. It was just like a real interview thing. It wasn't like friend of a friend of a friend. It was just a classic Hollywood sort of structure in many ways. But then yeah, so just my first talk with Sunny was really great, and I think from, you know, the very first sort of 10 minutes of the discussion, really felt like there was a filmmaking collaboration happening. It felt like, I think he saw the show in a very similar way and had similar goals about, you know, what we wanted, what we thought season two could be like. We both knew, for example, that it was really important, I think for Sunny primarily, but for sure for me too as well, that there'd be some sort of foundational visual language that would carry over from season one and not just be like a completely new thing, which I thought was really smart. And I thought Larkin, you know, who did season one, did such a fantastic job as well. So I wanted to sort of honor the Beef sort of beginnings as well, and as well as take it somewhere different, of course, too. But there was a real sort of passion on both of our sides to sort of find that sort of basic structure of what the show is. And then of course deviate from that position, for what season two wanted from us as well. So anyway, yeah, it just started as a real love for season one, probably more than anything else. And I think, you know, looking under the hood, I could say felt like I saw a filmmaking voice within Sunny that I just felt like there was something in his pursuits that I felt a kinship with.
Yeah. I mean, season 2 has some really deep issues that it's kind of going into kind of, you know, extricate and reveal.
Mm.
And so also though, I was curious, so for after season 1 of Beef, what about season 2 did you want to maintain?
Mm.
That the look from season 1, like what did you carry through into season 2?
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for the way season one's, um, again, the thing we deal with in season two as well. So I can talk about it as both for the time being. In that there's a wonderful blend of genre that I thought was like a lot of fun to play in. You know, there's a blend of comedy and thriller and action and you know, all kinds of different things happening. There's a bit of a horror element at times, and I think that that canvas to paint within was a lot of fun. But I think that kind of ability to touch on different genre techniques, to sort of pursue, you know, a through line of what felt important to the scene that from the script. I felt like I see that in season one as well as I see it in season two. In addition to that, I think there's a real sense of perspective that's really important to Sunny's writing, whose perspective the scene is in and from, and which character we're sort of trying to align ourselves with, and how that manifests itself into, you know, going into the details of sort of like lens choices and how far distant the subject is to the lens, and that sort of carries over this sense of who's seen it might feel like we're within in terms of perspective driven stuff. So I think there's something within both of those ideas that for me was all about like seeing what worked well in season 1 and what the language of beef really is, and what seemed to want to carry over from there.
So for season 2, I mean, you chose to use the Alexa 230, was it 265?
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
sorry. I was like, not
No, it's okay. It's a new one.
265.
No, don't worry. It's a new thing. So we're all getting used to the numbers and letters.
Yeah,
So all good.
exactly. And so what made
Yeah.
you decide to choose like such a large format camera, especially, you know, for like streaming, you know, television?
Of course, yeah. I mean, so I think it really stemmed from the script, if I'm being honest. It's sort of when I read the scripts and started talking to Sonny about the concepts about what he was writing about and what this show wanted to be in its sort of in its core. There's a lot of really like big ideas, and what it felt like in conversations was happening was these characters. Well, yes, it is sort of a character study of these few people. But these people almost like stand in for something much greater. They sort of are symbols or metaphors or stand-ins for sort of these like generational topics and whatnot, and male and female sort of structures and all these different things that are very like, you know, human core and, you know, instinctual things being discussed. And what I felt like I wanted to do to that story was present these characters as larger than life and have it feel like they're not just within, you know, they exist within our worlds, but they want to sort of almost identify as a subject that's something that's much bigger than that, and place more importance in that. And so what I felt like that would do for me, or one way I thought I could help that sort of driving force take shape, was to sort of present these faces and portraits in ways that made them feel so much grander and bigger than maybe, you know, the settings they may even fit within. So that's where it kind of stemmed from initially, in terms of like, you know, how to sort of like make faces. We're used to sort of these formats that we've sort of seen imagery within for a long time. Obviously, speaking about Super 35 size stuff, I know like the LF stuff and the other cameras that are similar to, you know, they're all sort of classified as large format. I just felt like wanting to go as big as we could would help that these concepts sort of reach what they're looking for in terms of impact.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I hear, and also, I mean, from what I understand, it is like a large format camera system, but it's easily transitioned to move around pretty easily.
Well, that's and not to make this an ARRI commercial.
No, but I was curious about
what
it.
was nice about it, what's nice about the camera, and you know, I'm not trying to put my salesman hat on here too much, but like what I found great about it was, within this sort of very large format sort of space and sensor size and image size, et cetera, and what that does to the lenses you're using and optics and blah, 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 it finds itself in a very compact size. You know, we're not sort of dealing with some of the sort of, you know, traditional senses of what large format might mean in terms of the space it needs in a set or in a real location, the weight it takes to sort of use certain sort of equipment well or not well. It gave us the ability to sort of like, be using familiar tool sets that, you know, we've grown quite used to within our sort of television making sort of footprint of it all, but with this new sort of sensor size that gave us another sort of, you know, different kind of scope.
Well, I mean, it's just that I noticed, like in the show, like within, even sometimes within the same scenes, you're moving from, you know, a studio setup to like kind of a moving with the camera to, you know, just all at once. So I was curious if the camera choice had.
You're right to point it out, because we definitely do that quite a bit, and I think I'm just thinking about schedule now and sort of the nuts and bolts of television making, filmmaking in general. You know, those things can take time, you know, moving from one tool to another. And if you're able to sort of do it more quickly by having a build that can transfer from handheld to Steadicam to, you know, sticks, etc., you know, in a way that isn't sort of, okay, let's take all the accessories apart and build it back up again, and the impact that it has on the day and the cast, and, you know, they're waiting for you to sort of build something. Well, being able to move fast between these things really helped, I think, on many levels.
Yeah, definitely. So talk to me a little bit about like your approach to to the story. I mean, so we're dealing with, several different, as I was saying, like several kind of different things within the world of Beef Season 2, which carries some of the
Mm.
same themes, but also has some new themes. And so,
Mm.
we've got like like sort of a four seasons approach, I guess. So,
Mhm.
where we have the young couple and then the middle-aged couple and then the older couple. And then I guess
Sure.
like the fourth season, Winter would be like, the relationship she had with her
Mm.
husband who's now dead. So,
Yes.
but yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I guess the way it was structured was also like that summer was almost like the club. So that's like this other element of the storyline and
yeah,
whatnot. But
that's
yes,
true.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, so I mean, talk to me a little bit about like that idea and how you guys kind of worked within that and how you represented it with images.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, like I said a few minutes ago, just the topics of what Sonny's writing was about here in season 2 was really big swing stuff. I mean, in terms of a writer, touching upon sort of topics that are kind of hard to talk about, and I credit him immensely for being able to sort of take those steps because I'm really proud of the show, and I think his writing is fantastic. And I think he did a great job with it. But these are big topics, so credit to him. But
Yeah,
what I'm referencing,
absolutely.
of course, is like there's these generations and what writing characters and presenting images about each of these generational descriptors and topics is big. And one way we sort of touched on it was, as you already alluded to a little bit, the idea of seasons and putting each of these sort of couples within a season. And like I said, I guess a minute ago too, the club being summer. But yeah, how you have sort of Carrie and Oscar's characters being sort of autumn. They're a couple that is, their relationship is dissolving. It's slowly kind of, finding its way out. And then you have this sort of elderly couple, and they are, in the later stages of their lives, sort of the very, very end, and what kind of what love looks like to them, and how that differentiates it. And that was the winter season for us in terms of color palette. And you have spring being, of course, the young couple, and all is well in the world, at least initially, of course, and love is strong and flowers are blooming, etc., as you might imagine. So they represent spring. And Grace Young and Olga Mill are fantastic production designer and costume designer, did a great job in terms of putting these characters in sort of, whether it's be clothing or set dressing that emphasize these kind of color palettes. And it was sort of my goal to kind of do the same thing with light. And as an example, you can sort of see it in the club, I think is a great example. We're trying to make sure, even when things are dour and starting to deconstruct and fall apart, there's still this sort of endless summertime Southern California sunshine coming through the windows,
Right.
and finding the backlight within these characters and kind of making it feel like the image might sort of speak to all is right in the world, but under the hood, and as it's performed and then the dialogue being presented, you really quickly realize that's not the case. But nevertheless, there's this effortless kind of consistent sunlight coming through there. And as a counterpoint, that's really easy to talk about, of course, is winter to that matter, and that is sort of the elder couple. And even though in the Los Angeles home that she lives in is sort of set on these sort of beautiful, what could be a very beautiful sort of Malibu seaside and over the ocean, you might sort of assume there'd be this beautiful sunset. Well, we worked hard to sort of actually pull that color out, and we had got lucky with weather sometimes. But even in the DI, when in color correction, we sort of try to strip away some of that sort of warmth and make it feel a bit more icy blues and things like that. So trying to sort of, for me, it was sort of trying to emphasize a lot of the work that Grace had already done and Olga had already done, of course, but to continue that idea all the way through color correction and of course in my lighting as well.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Yeah.
It also, I feel like, deals with love under capitalism, where there's that whole class structure going on as well within the film, and
Totally.
how like all those factors kind of weigh into people's relationships, and then having the setting being the club, which is like the ultimate symbol of wealth, and how they're all sort of trying to make that work for them, and struggling against the idea of like this class system and where they fit in within it. And
Hmm.
so I guess my question about that would be too, like, so shooting at the club, so you've got this like perfect, idealistic symbol of the, what the perfect
Hmm.
life, if you can afford it, right? Um,
Yes.
but at the same time, it's really oppressive for the people who are working within this system. So, was there anything kind of that you did to kind of make it feel that way, for the characters
That's
who,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. In a way, yes. I guess I could say like one thing, for example, I would try to do when possible, of course, and you can see it in some scenes within the club, is to try to sort of frame in these wides, these very symmetrical frames of opulence, and try to lift the frame up a little bit, get quite a lot of headroom at times to present some wide shots. And the hope there is to kind of create like a frame that sort of speaks to this sort of bigger, grander structure that's all kind of ever present around us in a way that frames the characters within it and forces them into certain sort of framing structures in a way. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know that we talked significant about that in pre-production, but I think certainly within production, and when it comes down to actually making choices about how to frame things and where to put the camera, um, you know, emphasizing the opulence was certainly part of all of our discussions at that point anyway. Um, and yeah, I think like I'm a big fan of trying to find frames that kind of can sometimes, depending on what the wants are from the scene, can sort of put people in ways that make it feel like you're powerless, or maybe you're powerful, depending on what the goals might be and which character we might feel like we're in. There's the scene of comes to mind right now is Oscar and Kaylee on the golf course outside, just in front of the beverage cart,
Right.
and there's some wides in there that do sort of like feel a little bit compressive and trying to sort of like make Kaylee feel quite small in relationship to Oscar's sort of domineering presence within the scene. And even the light does that. The way we staged the light in that scene was one of my sort of, it's an easy one to talk about because it just speaks to some of the kind of choices we were using. Oscar there is kind of set in backlight and kind of looking up at him quite a lot within his close up at the time, and kind of looking down on Kaylee as well. And because Oscar is in this kind of classic backlit sort of moment, Kaylee, of course, is receiving quite harsh, and you can see her squinting. And I remember talking to to Jake, the director of that episode, and Sunny both about not wanting to diffuse the light too much for her actually, and even though it might not necessarily be sorry Kaylee, of course, like the most beautiful light for her, it sort of spoke to me as like a great example of the power structures and how we can sort of emphasize those kind of things. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's another example of what kind of things we get
Well,
up
I
to.
was also thinking about like Oscar's or Josh's office. Like it's
Sure.
underground, in the club, and it's
Yeah,
small.
yeah.
It's not an opulent office. You're like, oh yeah, he's just a worker in this
Yes.
big place, and he thinks he's important, but he's not really that important. I don't know.
No, of
It just,
course,
yeah.
and no, 100%. And you're reminding me, of course, of
Yeah.
one of the many arguments where Carrie is talking about how much you're an employee, Josh.
Yeah.
You work for them. You're not one of their friends, and this kind of things. And yeah, I mean, class is all over this one as well, and just as season one was about that as well too. So yeah, it's
Mhm.
clearly a topic that somebody loves to write about, and I think that's in the world that we live in here
Oh yeah,
in the
absolutely.
West, in the US, it's on all of our minds,
Yeah,
really, isn't it?
for
So,
sure.
we get it.
Yes. Well, and with that in mind too, like I wanted to know, like, did you guys talk about, so throughout the show there's like shots of
Mm,
ants,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and so I was, did you guys talk about that at the beginning about about the ants and what that meant?
Yeah, we did a little bit.
Okay.
You'll forgive me for. I mean, I'm sure Sunny could do a much better job describing it than I can, but I will attempt to talk about it a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah, no,
But
I
yeah,
understand.
no, there very much was a lot of discussions about it. I just remember being like, it was all like very conceptual in a way that like, but yeah, it was about what we're talking about right now. In fact, it was all about sort of like societal structures and the roles we all play. Just, when you sort of see that classic like ant farm sort of diorama thing where like there's all these incredible cave caverns and all these different things, and every ant has a role to play within these spaces. And I think that's very much what was on our minds, and with those sort of metaphoric, symbolic shots. Yeah, it was fun. We actually, there was a mandate to sort of try to find ants at every location, and find if we. I think in the end I have like about 70 videos of ants on my phone. Just because I was like scouting for ants or insects all the time.
Well, so did you guys have like a separate shoot day where you kind of just, did you use like a probe lens, or what did you
Yeah,
guys do?
no, I wish there was. No. We would just try to find them when we could.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I guess they are everywhere.
Yeah. And then some of them, many of them were in the script, in fact. And the ones that are in the script, I think, are the ones that we mostly see. There might be a couple extras, but there are a few extras actually. But the ones in the script, I think some of them are, in fact, I'm flattered that you are convinced by them, but a lot of them are VFX. Those
Oh, okay.
the whole VFX.
Yeah. Okay.
Not to burst anyone's bubble, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the shots aren't very long. I think that,
No, I'm not saying it that way. I'm just sort of saying I'm glad it worked is the point.
Okay. Yeah. When I was doing a little research, I wanted you to tell me a little bit about like what was your favorite shot or sequence in the show. I think you've mentioned it might have been episode 8, but if there's anything else that stands out to you that you'd like to talk about.
I mean, there's so much that I'm really proud of in the show, and there's a lot to mention in terms of what are my favorite things. But I think some of my favorite work in this show for my own sake and my own side of the fence would be episode 8's scenes within the cells, I guess you call them. Just the silhouettes against the windows, and how the posture and poses of those silhouettes sort of speak so much to us, and how the light plays through them and not through them. There's a shot of Oscar and Carrie that's sort of split screen, and we do that a few times in the show too. And some of those are, even though there was examples of some of my favorite shots, are those ones too that we sort of pepper through the season.
Did you have them sitting so that the wall was actually there between them, and how did you do
Yeah,
it?
correct. It's live. Yeah. I mean, a different version of it could have been sort of like shoot them one at a time separately against some sort of different structure. But yeah, no, we, credit to Grace again, who did a great job, sort of designed a set that we could remove windows in that set for, and specifically made sure that one particular window could be removed to be able to, place the cameras right inside the window, so to speak, and allowed for, on a certain lens, to allow for like Oscar and Carrie to sort of, to be there with each other back to back. I almost said side by side, but back to back, of course, to sort of do that, reacting to each other properly, as opposed to some sort of like editorial effect, in fact. So yeah, that whole sequence is my favorites. I mean, I love that shot with the two of them, and I simultaneously love how you don't really see Charles and Kaylee's characters together in the same frame at all, of course, and they're so separate. I mean, it's just sort of, there's so many techniques I think we use to really drive home some of the things going on in each of their relationships, and how the connection between some and the undoing in others, and yeah, those are some of my favorite ones. I have other favorites, like I'm somehow very partial to the weightlifting shot of Charles early on in the season. I just find that shot to be like, I don't know, there's something about it that I think when we shot it, I just said to Sunny that just like there's something about that just is so beef to me.
Yeah, there you go.
Very beef-like in that moment.
That's true.
So anyway, I have quite a few, but yeah, I think episode 8's works is some of my favorite things, and I'm quite proud of a lot of things. I mean, there's the fight sequence is another fun one. Of course.
I was going to ask about that next. The fight sequence in the health clinic. What went into that? So was there a lot of there must have been a lot of pre-production choreography, and was it all one shot?
Yeah, it's all one shot. There's no stitches. And there was, as you said, there was a few days of choreography that I think it sort of started in Los Angeles. Then we did more choreography rehearsals, and once we got to Korea, and yeah, I think with a show that's about so much, as we've already sort of touched on a little bit, there was a pressure on, I'm sure, Sunny but therefore all of us too, to sort of deliver like a finale, so to speak, that felt like it had some real sense of scope and excitement and energy. And I think, choosing to do that as a oneer, for us felt like it was building, to that place for a long time, and trying to make the stakes so much, and bringing that scene into sort of a successful moment for us. I think really felt like it was, climaxing in a way, of course, and that felt like the right choice for what seemed to make sense for us in that way. But yeah, it was fun. It was a fun one to shoot. I mean, I think we did it for definitely a few hours. But yeah, in the end, I wish I remember what take they actually used, but it took quite a few to get it right. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's almost
flying,
slapsticky kind
stuff.
of. Yeah.
There is, and that's kind of, again, like, it touches on sort of what I love about Beef in a way. There's just this like a lovely genre blending thing that's happening where, like, you are scared for them, and you do feel like emotionally tied to the scene and to the characters. But then, there's some real, like, you can laugh out loud in that moment as well at the same time and still be engaged. And I think that, I guess maybe it's just me, but I'm quite partial to kind of filmmaking like that at times. It just, like, you want to laugh and cry and be scared all at the same time, and that kind of filmmaking I find fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely humor going on, even in the parts where the poor Burberry, the dog.
Yeah, sure. I know. But
and then they go to the animal place, and the guy's like, they're like, that's not our dog.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway,
I know.
Yeah,
I know. For dog lovers out there, I'm sorry, but yeah, exactly. Like, it was. There's some silliness going on for sure. And that's the great writing of Sonny Lee, of course. But anyway, yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was really interesting though, because I feel like their relationship really collapses after Burberry's, gone.
It does, of course. Yeah. I mean, I it certainly is like going that direction.
Yeah,
and I think it's that last straw that breaks them, of course. And you can see that in the scene when they're at that they're at the animal hospital at the end of that episode, and you can just sort of see it in their faces. And I think the next line is, well, we should get divorced, of course. But yeah, it's a heartbreaking moment, that one. They're holding the stuffy, and it's just like that's one another. It's a funny one. So my favorite shots are like not the most spectacle versions of things. I quite like that shot. There's some sort of very drab color palette lighting kind of going on there, and the posture of the characters and the stuffy hanging from her hand and all that kind of stuff. I love that shot as well. It's a good moment.
No, it's a lot of really good emotion going on in there too. It was
yeah, not to mention, I think we have not mentioned, but just the incredible performances that all the cast bring as well. I mean, just very helpful to all of us to sort of work with some great people like that.
Absolutely. And it was really funny because I had forgotten that Oscar Isaac and Carey Mulligan had worked together before. And I think I read that the picture that they have in Josh's office is actually of them at the premiere of Inside Llewyn Davis. I was like, that's exactly funny. I forgot about that. Anyway,
it is. No, it's. I mean, they've done it multiple times too, as well. So it's that there's. Is it now 3? Maybe.
Oh, I don't know.
Remember. Yeah, there's few.
Oh,
I think there's more. I think is it not Drive as well? And then there's I think that maybe there's 3. Then I forget. But forgive me if I'm misquoting things. But,
no, I don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah. So, anyway, no, I think that there's it's fun. I mean, it's almost like the same thing of like working with the same director after a number of years, and you remember each other, and you kind of like find a fondness for like the collaboration process as well. Because I mean, those two, I can just attest to it, because I witnessed so much of it on set. They just really love working with each other, and it was a joy to watch that, because it was just very obvious how much each of them made each other click and grow through those characters in a way that there's just a love of the craft from both of them that really felt palpable for all of us to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So then also it was wondering in episode 8 with the final shot with the I think where they call it the samsara configuration with the 4 quadrants.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit. What was the idea, the origin, I guess the origin of the idea, and like how you executed it.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to find a way to figure out, I think, how to end the show in a way. I think, the show is it's about all of these characters at one time. It's not, it's not necessarily like one person's or even one couple's storyline. It's all of them. And to end the show with, one close up or one medium shot of one of the characters, or even if it was the couple, if two of the characters, just wouldn't, I don't know that it would have done justice to what the story wants to sort of express at the very end there. And so it needed to find some way to bring them all together. And then there's again the topic of sort of generational cycles and I think, yeah, the samsara and and the iconography of that seemed to sort of work quite well for Sunny, I think, to sort of find a way to put all of what we've watched in these episodes into a moment where you can really reflect on what you may have just witnessed as a story. And so I think that's how it made sense on a conceptual level, and what I think we hoped people would get out of it was, just to be able to be reflective in that last moment, as opposed to sort of be tied to some particular couple or character, but to be reflective upon what, all of these generational sort of moments in our lives are all about. And not to sum them up particularly, but just to be able to present a breath of a shot that that would allow the audience to sort of take time to reflect upon the story. And so the way we captured it was maybe not that interesting, but yeah, like we built Grace designed a very lovely set in the middle of a very big grassy field where we outlined some the circles, of course, and the quadrants, and peppered in set dressing to these quadrants that had something to do, of course, with the characters within it, and had the cast there to sort of to play within these spaces that were sort of outlined for them. And then we just sort of lift off from where we leave Cherwin Park upon the grave sort of cemetery scene, and lift off from there. And we're on a drone is what we're on, of course. And we're sort of just, as we're rising, rotating the camera to sort of, again, spin in these directions to emphasize the cycles of all these different lives. And, so it was a sort of a technical, metaphor for, not metaphor, but a technical like mirror of what the symbolism of what the show is intending to express. And so that's sort of the conceptual ideas about what we're hoping to accomplish there.
Okay. So if I know that Lee has talked about doing a third season of Beef. So if you were, do you think you would want to collaborate on something like that again?
I mean, yeah, of course, I would love to, for sure. I have no idea. You may know more about that than I do.
Oh, I don't know. I just was...
but I have but anyway, but no, of course, it was I genuinely had it would be understating it to say I had a fantastic time. I really felt connected to him and to his voice, and I really just I think he's someone that I just felt I loved how he collaborates, how he communicates, and how he wants to tell stories. Just it felt really like natural or kinship. I've sort of used that word before already, but like that kind of like way you sort of seem to sync up with a collaboration that makes sense to you. And I certainly would definitely love to continue, for sure.
Is there anything that you would I mean, I guess you'd have to see a script or whatever, but is there anything that you would want to like do more of or change up a little bit in particular that you were thinking of that you didn't really get to do or accomplish in this season?
No, I mean, that's hard to say. It's like the way I think about collaboration and our endeavors, for me anyway, are like a journey into like the unknown, and I try my best not to sort of put as much or as little expectations on what those things may or may not be, just because I think that's the fun of collaboration for me, is sort of like finding a new place to go, and not necessarily like harboring or regretting or bringing your regrets to the next thing. I find myself trying to avoid that, for sure, just because I don't know that it does a service to what the goals might be. So no, what we always what do filmmakers always say? We always want more time. We always want more stuff. But no,
Yeah.
I don't have that. I don't have those feelings. I think I'm very proud of the show, and it would be a joy just to sort of connect again on something down the road. But yeah, no, I don't. I don't have
Got it.
I don't have regrets. I guess I'll put it that way.
Were there any happy accidents that went, even better than you expected on the set? Like any kind of, moments that kind of came together that weren't really necessarily scripted?
I'm sure there are many. The one that comes to mind right now, I think I somewhat touched on this a little bit already, talking about Chairman Park's house. But I think what really, from terms of lighting anyway, and lensing, kind of came to a fruition when we got to that location of her home. And there's another one of my favorite shots in the show is Charles there next to Eunice. House next to Eunice, sorry, I should say. And there's this quite kind of proscenium frame, quite a wide, flat master shot of them on the couch sitting side by side, and the sort of guards are sort of around them, placed in the background quite specifically. And that sort of came to I think we'd sort of visited that location quite a few times before shooting that scene, but the happy accident that happened on that day was sort of, it just felt like we lit candles and prayed for it, because there's this very dark, ominous cloud off the coast of Southern California.
Yeah.
So that was just present there in a way that you couldn't have asked for a more correct sort of weather pattern to come in. I mean, you could have, I guess, had lightning bolts and storms, who knows, but that might have been too much. But it just felt like lady luck of filmmaking was shining down upon us at that point. And it just felt like the character of Geraldine Park and how we were trying to present her seemed to be written in the clouds. I'll put it that way.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I remember that shot. It is really memorable.
It's a fun one. And I think, again, just sort of you were talking about class earlier, and that's another example. Not the club, but just that home felt very oppressive in a weird way. And I think the kind of headroom we would be using in those scenes, and that particular shot is a great example of it. Kind of just feeling these kind of cold concrete but beautiful architecture.
So it was an actual location.
Yeah. So that's a real house on the Malibu coastline. But yeah, it felt like it really played well for where that character's home would be, and I think the way we'd frame it, and as I said, that's a good example of, I think, what we would do to sort of emphasize some of the oppressive sort of class structure stuff in a way.
What made you decide on the lenses that you chose? How did that influence, what was happening in the story that made you sort of choose that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the DNAs, I mean, I've used them before, and I really have enjoyed what they sort of do. They have this beautiful ability to sort of much like the show, in my opinion, ride this fine line between sort of precision, because they are, it's not like they're so vintage looking that they kind of fall apart in the edges, but at the same time they're also, so there's a sharpness to them, but they do have a characterfulness as well. So there's there's some aberrations in them, and there's some vignetting in them, and there's some sort of effects in them that I think I really quite like. And the intention there was to sort of while presenting this sort of like I said before, large format imagery, but to sort of also like I said, around the edges, or the way flares happen, or the halation around sort of sharp sort of highlights and things like that, that'd be sort of things that are wrong technically. And the idea there, of course, was that to present something that while in its general presentation would feel grand, that there's also under the surface things that are kind of breaking down as well. And that was kind of at least the conceptual ideas in my mind about why those lenses seem to make sense.
Got it. Great. Thank you.
Well, amazing. Well, thank you. No, I appreciate it. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Anytime.
And
all the best.
So tell me where people can find you.
In the world?
Yeah, like, do you do Instagram or,
Oh,
do
I
you
see
have
what
a
you mean. Sorry.
website? No, yeah, I
I
meant like
see.
social media wise, or if people, you know what I mean. If
Sorry.
people want to,
Yeah,
no,
those are.
no.
It's a good. No, no, no. Sorry, that's my fault because I'm just an old 45-year-old guy and I forget how people talk about Instagram. No, I do. I do have Instagram. It's Mr. James Laxton is the what do the kids say? That's the handle, I think is the way they say it. So I do Instagram, but that's it. I don't have any other social media stuff. I do a website, which is jameslaxton.com, where you can find stuff that I've worked on. But that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where you can find me.
And did you have anything that you wanted to mention that's coming up for you next?
Not really. No, I mean, I'm looking forward to the fall. The fall, I'm meant to sort of start a project that I'm looking forward to. A feature film again, getting back to the feature space, and hopefully, yeah, hoping that happens. But yeah, no, I've been I go back and forth between like commercials and TV and movies and things like that. So my I'm diversified in the sense of like when I've been working quite a bit, but it's all been on commercials, which are sometimes fun.
Oh, okay.
But that's the world I'm in at the moment.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much.
Pleasure. Thank you very,
Yeah.
very much. I hope to talk to you guys again at some point down the line.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That was my interview with James Laxton, and it was really fun to talk to him about Beef Season 2. And we kind of, we got into some of the deeper aspects of what was going on in the show there. And he's always a great person to talk to. He always has a lot of great insights. So thanks again.
Would you say that you got into the meat of beef?
Yes, I think we did.
All right.
There's a lot going on in that show.
Did you chew the fat?
Yeah, I think we did.
You chewed the fat with James Laxton about beef.
Yes, we did.
Right. Perfect.
So now it's our time for our short ends. And so, Alana, we don't have you on here very much. So let's let you lead with your pet obsession of the week. What are you all about this week?
Well, I've been telling both of you that you must watch this show. It is really great. It's called Widow's Bay. And Ben, you especially, it's on Apple TV. Ben, you would really love this show. It is
second on my list to watch, and you know what the first is. So
I do. So Widow's Bay, it's great. It's a horror comedy. And it stars Matthew Rhys, who is in The Americans, and the Perry Mason series. If you guys,
I love that guy. By the way, his impersonation of George Carlin in Saturday Night is supernaturally great.
He's a great actor.
Supernaturally, like beyond natural.
Okay, I'm a massive George Carlin fan, and when I was watching that, I'm like, I know what era George Carlin he's doing. He nailed the look, which obviously is also makeup, but he nailed the voice. It's so hard to do, and he didn't do it. It didn't feel like an impersonation.
It has so many cool elements. It's such a great blend of both. Like, and I'm not really a horror person, as you know, but seems like I'm leaning that way a little more. I think I'm getting less of a chicken as I
You're
get
getting
older,
cooler.
maybe.
If it's any, endorsement to your opinion about the show, do you know what Rotten Tomatoes says it is?
Oh, I think it's high. I think they really like it.
Yeah, it's 97%, which puts it above 97% of most of the stuff that's on their platform.
Well, it's spooky. It's not like scary, but there are some pretty scary episodes, and there are like different genre kind of salutes to things. Like there's definitely an It sort of tribute in one of the episodes, and so yeah, it's basically there's kind of it takes place on a haunted island is basically what's going on. There's an island which has like a curse. Matthew Rhys plays the mayor, and he's trying to get more tourism to the island, but the curse or hauntings that go on are causing problems, especially towards him. So yeah, anyway, it's on right now. It's on Apple TV, and I really recommend watching it. It also has Stephen Root, so he as one of the characters who
always great.
Yeah, I love him too. So.
Well, it was shot by Christian Sprenger too, who he shot Glow season 1, which I thought was
He did.
great.
Yeah, no,
So
no.
So-
It looks amazing. I'm sure it looks amazing. Well, maybe we can get him on the show.
So Ben, what's your short end?
So as probably a lot of people know, maybe not out of our country as much, but Stephen Colbert, talk show host Stephen Colbert, had his last episode of his series that ran for 11 years, but it's a 30-year show. He took it over from David Letterman last Thursday. Anyway, so Stephen Colbert wrapped up his show after taking it over from David Letterman. So CBS canceled the show after a 30-year run. I don't know if either of you saw the new talk show that Stephen Colbert did for Monroe Public Access Television in Monroe, Michigan.
I heard about it. I saw something on social media about it, but
that was like quite viral for a half a second there. Like Stephen Colbert's doing public access.
It's brilliant. So I guess when he took over the show originally, he did their show and he kind of did it as a publicity stunt. And is this a publicity stunt? I don't know. I highly encourage you to watch it because it's like halfway between his CBS show and the show he used to do for Comedy Central, the Colbert Report. And I remember in the Colbert Report, he would get like really intensely focused on some very specific local piece of news. So it's like an hour-long show. Jack White from the White Stripes is his musical director, and he looks completely bored the whole time, which added to the how freaking hilarious it was. And he kept like doing these like deep dives into Monroe, Michigan, a place I've never even been. Jeff Daniels was on the show. Steve Buscemi was on the show. It's shot like a public access show. Like it's obviously shot in like, kind of like a studio that backs up to an office. In fact, there's a door kind of right behind him for most of it where like the assistant keeps coming in and going out of the door and you see into the office. And then there's like Easter eggs playing in there. Like for instance, Bigfoot inexplicably is walking around in there from time to time. There's like a guy in a Bigfoot suit.
Okay.
It's a little Eric Andre, it sounds like.
It's so good. Like honestly, I loved his CBS show, but I would watch this every week. I hope that he does it again. I don't know that he's going to. At the end of the whole thing, they literally destroy the set and burn it down. They throw it all in a dumpster and light the dumpster on fire. Jack White, I feel like, is an unappreciated comedy genius. Jack White is brilliant in it. Everything about it was wonderful. Steve Buscemi isn't really a guest. He's more like there to do a commercial. It's a real commercial. But it's very funny. And Jeff Daniels makes the most inexplicable sandwich with Steven. And
Does he have a cooking segment?
Kind of. It's wonderful. And worth your time. And I assume that they just use the same public access volunteer camera operators and stuff. That's what they said they did. And it kind of feels like that. Like it feels public accessy. And I just loved it. Like I don't know what the future of late night is. It looks like, people are not tuning into late night in the same numbers that they used to. And I keep thinking that like we used to just have one late night host, Johnny Carson. Then we had Carson and Letterman. And then it, metastasized to the point where every network had a late night host. And maybe we don't need, I love Colbert. Maybe we don't need so many, but it makes me very optimistic about whatever he's going to do next. Like he's just so freaking funny. Anyway.
Yeah, cool. Where can we find it?
If you Google it at all, it's up on Monroe Public Access's website. But if you Google it, you'll have no problem finding it. It's also on YouTube. Interestingly enough, too, like CBS apparently like filed a junction to block it, and then retracted it because like he used none of their intellectual property or anything. Like
and he doesn't have a contract with them anymore.
Yeah, his contract's over. He doesn't work for them.
That's funny.
But anyway, they withdrew
That's
it.
Great.
But yeah, I kind of love how Stephen Colbert and this maybe is more of what he used to do with the Colbert Report, but it's like it's a very specific kind of trolling that doesn't feel mean-spirited, but is still like pointed in an interesting way. Like it's still commentary on the culture and I don't know. I couldn't stop watching this. I was like, I'll give it 5 minutes. Like the goof is going to wear off. Like the gimmick will wear off. And then like, he just, obviously he's been doing this show forever now. So he just knows how to make these segments interesting to watch, but also it's almost a parody of what he used to do. And then he would get into like the things happening around Monroe, Michigan. And I don't know. It's really funny. Anyway, so check it
Great.
out.
That's
So
great.
Ilya, what is your obsession this week?
You know, it's international co-productions. And by international co-productions, I actually just mean the film community at large outside the United States. And I bring all of this up really specifically because it relates to what we're doing right now. It actually has nothing to do with co-productions. It has to do with our fans. It has to do with the fans of this show. It turns out
It's a wild ride. I don't know where you're going now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I'm bringing it full circle right now. Here we go.
Strap in.
Turns out a few countries have something in common. And these countries are Iceland, Ghana, Malaysia, Greece, Uganda, Latvia, and Malta. You know what they have in common? And it's related to cinematography? It's the
Several of them start with a
Cinematography
vowel?
Podcast.
Oh,
No, it's
sorry.
us. It's us. We are the link between all these places. We are currently the #1 podcast in Iceland, Ghana, Malaysia,
Wait,
Greece,
what?
Uganda, Latvia, and
Wait,
Malta.
the number one podcast?
In our
You-
category.
Yes, in our
You have
category.
to qualify that.
I was getting there. I was going to get to the qualification. The qualification is we are in the film
think-
interview category,
Do
which
you
is
think
not.
the Uganda thing has to do with our interview with the director of Bobby Wine?
Yes, I think it has everything to do with the fact that we did that interview about Bobby Wine. Because, number 2 viewed on YouTube, too. It's insane.
Crazy.
And
Yeah.
and you know this comes courtesy. This information comes courtesy of a website called Pod Status, who I guess this is what they do. They look up this information. We also hit number 2. I don't know who bested us in Ecuador, Germany, and Finland, but yeah, number 2 in Ecuador, Germany, and Finland I feel is pretty great. We also hit number 11 in Australia and South Africa. There's a lot more competition, I think, for English language film interview podcasts in those places, but still, just barely kept us out of the top 10. I'm
But
very
Iceland-
grateful. I know Iceland. English is well spoken in Iceland as well. And do you happen to know the official language of Ghana? It's English.
French?
So there you
Yeah.
go. No, it's
I was going to go with French, but yeah.
yes.
I think it used to be, but not anymore.
And in Malta, actually, Malta also English is an official language there as well. So there is a lot of English being spoken all over, and it turns out that when people want to hear an interview about film, about cinematography, Cinematography Podcast is doing well around the world, which is really great. I just discovered all of this the other day, courtesy of Pod Status, and so this is my obsession. I feel like I got to learn like 9 different languages now just to say thank you. So
Yeah,
I don't know if
I don't
Icelandic.
know.
Icelandic, I don't think I can do it, but I have it here. I don't know if you'll hear this, but
Þakka þér fyrir.
Pakape fyrir. I think that's as close as I can get. So
You got me beat.
Okay. I mean, how many people do you think are living in Iceland and listening to our podcast?
you know what? Clearly enough that all other film interview podcasts fell to a lower place than us. So which is kind of crazy. So
Hello, Reykjavik. We love you.
I'm very excited that there are some other people around the world who are listening to us, and it's not just bots too. It's like people who are like actually like, I think in order to be counted as a listen, you have to listen to a significant portion of the show. So there you go. Anyway, I think that just about does it for the show. Alana, where can people find you if they want to get in touch?
They can find me at Green Tree Creative is my company, and the website is growwithgreentree.com for any of your marketing and podcasting needs. If you want to start a podcast or need some social media marketing, that's where I can be found.
Ben, how about you? Where can people find you?
You can find me at benrock.com. I'm not
Nice.
going to say anything else. Ilya, where can people find you?
You can find me at Hot Rod Cameras, hotrodcameras.com. Also, coming up this week is Cinegear. So I'll be at Cinegear.
It's Cinegear already. Jesus Christ. So that means Cinebeer is also right around the corner.
I'll also be at Cinebeer. So these events are happening on June 5th, 6th, and 7th. So if you're interested in these things, do a quick Google search, and there is all the registration information. It does cost money to get into Cinegear. Cinebeer is still free, but you do have to fill out an application to make sure that you're, cut the mustard, that you can.
And it's
hang
worth
with
it.
us. Yeah.
If you're going to be anywhere near LA during Cinegear, go to Cinebeer. It's awesome.
For sure.
It's where we did our first live podcast. Do you remember who the first live interview that we did at the first live podcast was?
I do.
That would have been Baby Papa Michael. Yeah.
Yeah, you both got it. Do you remember who the second one was?
Checoverese?
Wow, we all have good memories. All right, cool.
All right.
Remember who the third one was? It's a trick question. There was no third one.
No, we were just talking about it. Maybe
it'll be a new one.
See.
We'll resurrect this. So Ben, do you want to do the thank yous? Because one of the people is like, you know,
it
right
feels weird to
here
thank Alana when I'm looking at her image on Zoom, but thank you, Alana, for being our predator and for scheduling these interviews and now conducting some of these interviews and editing these interviews. And believe me, I know how much fun it is to edit an interview that I also conducted. So,
extra.
You know, it's once you get over listening to yourself, you know, you have to get over that. But then,
and nobody likes the sound of their own voice. I mean, some people do, but.
All right. So who else do we have to thank, Ben?
We got to thank Kays Alatraxi, who composed all the music that you hear on the show. Check out Kays' website, musicbykays.com, or kayslabs.com if you want to get your synthesizer serviced, because that's Kays' new sideline. So check it out.
All right. I think that does it for the episode. Alana, do you want to take us out?
Ooh.
Thanks for tuning in.
This has been Cinepod, the cinematography podcast presented by Hot Rod Cameras. Find your next camera, lens, or accessory at hotrodcameras.com. Watch and subscribe to our show on YouTube or listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow and interact with us on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn, but not X. Don't do that. Thanks for tuning in.